If you're an insurance agency owner, you might be wondering how to make 2025 your most successful year yet. But do you have a detailed marketing plan? Do you know the crucial metrics needed to achieve your goals? If you're seeking answers, you're in the right place. I'm John Tate, CEO of Agency Marketing Machine and author of the book Agents of Change, Rethinking Insurance Agency Marketing. And I recently hosted a transformative workshop specifically designed for insurance agency owners like you on creating a 2025 marketing plan. We dove deep into effective goal setting, and I showed attendees exactly how to calculate key metrics that are essential for every successful agency owner. We also explored the latest marketing trends for 2025, ensuring you'll fully be prepared to tackle the challenges and opportunities of the upcoming year. So in this video you're about to watch, you'll discover the 3 profit levers. These are game changers. And when pulled correctly, they'll help you meet and exceed your monthly, quarterly, and annual objectives. Plus, you'll receive access to an invaluable tool. It's a workbook designed to simplify all the necessary calculations for you. So this isn't about learning, it's about applying what you learn in real time to drive results. All right, are you ready to step up your game? Let's dive into the workshop and start your journey towards unprecedented success. Welcome, everybody, to today's workshop on creating a marketing plan for your insurance agency. And I'm really excited because it's always fun around this time to think about the year ahead. And I hope 2024 was a good year for you. Today, we want to get really clear about where you're at, where you want to go, and how to go about getting that done. So I do believe that there's power in the process of documenting goals. So if you play golf, or maybe you've just gone to a Top Golf before, it's a little like when you're about to drive a golf ball. If you don't first focus clearly on where you want the ball to land, where you want that target to be, you're going to have a much tougher time making a great shot. So here's the plan for our session. We want to set clear goals and targets for the year, because then we'll be able to break that down by quarter and month. And then we're going to break down those goals into 3 profit levers. 1, selling to new customers. 2, selling more to existing customers. And 3, to retain customers longer. And then we're going to map out a detailed plan. What do we need to do from a marketing perspective in order to reverse engineer these plans, these tactics, and hit our goals? Because just having goals isn't enough. We've got to figure out, okay, what kind of budget is this going to take? Do we have the budget? And we've got to be realistic on costs. And then we're going to identify what is a realistic ROI on individual tactics. And then we'll also be highlighting some marketing trends. So hopefully you've all gotten a chance to download that marketing plan workbook. You should have gotten it in an email within the past hour. And you've also had a chance to find those initial data points that I referenced that will allow you to enter those into the workbook, and then you can let the workbook perform some important calculations for you. But if you haven't had a chance yet to research those metrics that I had mentioned in one of those emails, it's not a problem. You can use estimates in the workbook, and then you can update it later with more accurate data. And I encourage you not to try to find that data right now so that you don't miss the material we're going to be going through. And also, if you don't have 2 displays, it will be tough to see the webinar and your workbook at the same time. So if that's the case, I suggest that you just follow along on the webinar, and I will be sending along a recording in case you miss something. But really, kudos to all of you for investing this time to build a solid plan for an outstanding 2025. If we haven't met before, my name is John Tate, and I'm CEO of Agency Marketing Machine. We've helped hundreds and hundreds of insurance agencies over the past 11 years become the go-to agencies in their markets, and increasing their retention, increasing their revenues by millions and millions of dollars. And I'm also an author of the book Agents of Change, Rethinking Insurance Agency Marketing. And it's one of the more popular books in the category, but it is a small category. So it's not too big of a deal, but it is read pretty widely. But most importantly, I've been in the trenches with some of the top insurance agencies in the country, really trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work, So we've been identifying, testing, and implementing the new technology, new tactics over these past 11 years, and we found what's successful specifically within the insurance industry, because it does vary. What works in the insurance industry or doesn't work, it could work in other industries. So I think that is a very important aspect of why our clients come to us and why we are one of the top full service agencies in the country. You can really, I guess, basically rest assured that we know what we're doing. So you can be confident in this plan that you're creating and some of these ideas that I pass along to you. So we're going to be giving you insights. And as you build your own plan, you may be interested in what it might look to, say, have John and his team actually implement some of these strategies for me, instead of me trying to do them on my own. And we'd love to have the opportunity to have that one-on-one conversation with you to see where you're at and show you exactly what we do. You can schedule one of those one-on-one meetings at agencymarketingmachine.com, and then you would click the schedule a demo button at the top. So no pressure, just putting that out there. I would like to do a quick poll. We are going to have a Q&A session at the end. So I'll answer questions at that time. And yes, this is being recorded. So I'll send that to everybody that registered for this workshop. I'll be sending that along within the next day at least. And let me see if I can give you this poll. And it's a real quick one. I just would like to know, do you currently have a plan for a marketing plan for 2025? If you could just click one of those three options, either no, not at all, or yes, it's organized by quarter, or yes, organized by month. And all right, so it looks like, yeah, over 80% of you do not have one yet. So that's great. That is what we're here for, and that's what we're going to be doing right now. So you come to the right place. Let's first look at some of the trends, marketing trends that have been happening. And instead of me coming up with a list for you, this gentleman, Bill Rice, he's the president of a web marketing association. So it's a third party that we can see what they have to say. And I've got some comments about the individual tactics that were laid out. So this insurance-based or insurance page-based advertising, establishing trust, tangible messaging, that's a lot of words right there. One thing I want to point out is QR codes have been around for a long time. But I think we've hit the point where people now, everyday people, your customers, regardless of the age, they expect to have QR codes, because we're getting really lazy. We don't want to type things in anymore. So you being able to use your camera to scan a QR code to go out to a website or take advantage of an offer is really important. So if you have any direct mail pieces, especially, be sure to include QR codes for the call to action, and then have a landing page on your website that's specific to that offer. So insurance online videos, simplifying complex insurance products. What I have to say about videos is that because of AI, there is now a flood, and it's going to get even more so, way more so, a flood of videos that are created by AI. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we are human beings, and I think for at least the next few years, we're going to be able to tell what was created by AI and what wasn't. The voices are just a little bit off. The words don't quite match what people are saying. And we do want that personal touch. And one of the advantages that you have being a local insurance agency is that you can build those personal relationships. Video allows you to build personal relationships because when you see somebody on video, you kind of get to know that person. So video is very important. And I think personal videos are even more important than ever. And I think they will continue to be. So actually, you or your team members being on video, we happen to have an easy way to create those videos and push them out to everywhere on social media. But I think that is an important trend. Insurance email marketing. Yes, email is not dead. It is still a great way to interact with people and to help develop that relationship, which will increase retention. Insurance websites, ease of use. So what we have seen with insurance agencies, which is different from other industries, is that around 25% of people in the past have access from a mobile device. And this is even just within the most recent past few years, it's always around 25%. That has now increased where more people, and it's not quite 50%, it's still around maybe 40%, are accessing insurance agency websites from mobile devices. So you do have to make sure that your website is mobile optimized. Yes, newsletter marketing, providing ongoing value, still really important, and it has been. Insurance mobile apps. Yep, we do want to have an app to make sure that it's very easy to find the information that they need, or else they will go elsewhere where things are or easier. And you want to always make sure that they know who their insurance agent is, which is also sometimes an issue. And your social media campaigns. Social media is not going away, has not gone away. And that might be the consternation of many of us, but it's still there, and we want to meet people where they're at and try to build a relationship. So those were some good points by Bill there, and I think we'll take advantage of many of these in some of these tactics that we'll be going through as we build out the plan. All right, but let's now dive into the workbook, which is actually, as you'll see, a Google Sheet. And this is going to really perform some cool calculations for us. So I'm going to enter in some data here, and that will, you can follow along here, or you can enter in your own data, right? So total policies in force. Basically, at the end of 2024, how many policies were in force? So here I'm going to put in some random numbers. I'm going to put in 3,000 for the total policies in force. So total commission, basically what was your own agency's revenue? So let's put in 600,000. Desired growth over the next 12 months. I'm going to put in 15% for the example. Total current number of customers / households that we're servicing. I'll put in 2,000. Current retention, 86%, and the current household bundling percentage. So where there's at least 2 or more policies across different types within the same household, I'll put in 55%. So you can use, like I said, use estimates now. You can always go back and update. All the calculations will retroactively update, so you can play with these numbers as well. All right, let's look at the calculation. So down here on the bottom, I'm moving to this next tab. Here we go. So because of the growth that we wanted, now the total number of policies at the end of 2025 that we want to have, it's 3,450. There's the revenue. Because of my retention, we're going to lose policies, of course. So we're going to have to gain an additional number of policies to make up for the policies that we're going to lose. So the total number of policies that we're going to need are 933. And that means our revenue growth is going to be 186,600. So some of these other values basically is just dividing out what was previously there. So your average policy here, it's $200 per year, and 1.5 policies per customer, and that means a customer on average is worth $300 per year. And because of our 86% retention, that equates to a 7.1 year customer lifetime, and over $2,000 will be received on average in commission for that average lifetime of a customer. All right, so how do we hit our goals? We break this down into the 3 profit levers that I mentioned previously. Well, if you just want to focus on new customers, well, then we need to find 622 new customers. Or if we want to sell more to existing customers, we'd have to sell just about 1 new policy to every existing unbundled customer. So I previously said that my bundling percentage was 55%. So that means 45% of the book is not bundled. We'd have to go back to all of them and sell an additional policy, which might be tough. Or if we had 300 new customers, and if we increased our retention to, impossible 100% retention, we'd have to have 100% retention and have 300 new customers, or 100% retention and sell a half a policy to every unbundled customer, or 1 policy to half of our unbundled customers. So, but each of these scenarios is not realistic. So it's going to be some variation of this. And we can move those levers. So we can move them to be something that's much more realistic. So for example, what percentage of unbundled customers can more policies be sold? Well, maybe if you think that you haven't done a real good job of going back to existing customers and really identifying where they're at in life, or if you had salespeople in the past that didn't do a good job of identifying those other opportunities while they were selling the initial maybe home or auto policy, then there might be a big opportunity there. So maybe let's say it's 20% of the unbundled customers. So that could be 180 policies. What if we increased our retention 2%? So I said it was 86. What if we increase that to 88%? And that's doable. That's a pretty big swing over the course of 1 year, but it is doable. So that could be 69 policies. And that then means that we need to sell 456 new customers, which is 684 policies. So all of that adds up to hit our goal. So these aren't going to be exact, but I think it is important to see that it's not just about getting new customers. You do have to focus on these other areas. And profit lever number 3, retain customers longer. This is a real important one, right? Because although it looks like a small number of policies, so like maybe I can ignore this. Boy, over the past couple of years especially, we've seen how insurance agencies have had an extremely tough time because of everything that's been happening in the industry, and carriers moving out of regions and dropping customers, dropping your customers. You spent a lot of time on servicing and just trying to retain those customers. So that has been, I know, really time consuming in the past, and maybe that will be continuing, but we're going to see how important this retention is in this next tab, which is our retention model. Okay, so we said that our revenue was 600,000, retention of 86%, and we saw what our average customer lifetime was. So what if instead of, and you can put anything in here, what if instead of 86% retention, our retention was 89%, which is absolutely doable. We have clients that have retention in the low 90s, all the way up to 95%. I think is one of the highs. It's tough when people are moving or when people pass away. You can't really get much higher than that, but you can absolutely have an effect on retention, which, in addition to finding other carriers that might be a good fit for your clients, there are things that you can do to affect retention. Absolutely. But let's look at the effect of this. So just increasing the retention 3%, and we're not saying that this is over the course of 1 year, but what if instead of an 86% retention, you had an 89% retention? Well, that means that your customer is sticking with you for a little over 9 years versus a little over 7 years. And that means your average customer value is $2,700 instead of $2,100. So the difference in your agency's profit over that customer lifetime with just your existing customers, not talking about getting new clients, just the 2,000 households that you currently service, it would be a $1.168 million difference in your profit. So that is the course, that is over the course of 9 years, but that is pure profit. So there's no expenses that are taken out of that. And who would not want an extra $1 million+ in their pocket? And you can keep on going here. What if instead of 89%, it was something like 92%, looking at over $3.2 million in profit. So this is real, and this is why we need to pay extra attention to retention instead of like what some agencies do, which is purely focused on getting new customers. All right, this next tab is activities. So we've got our policy goals over the next 12 months here, and we can look at, okay, what are the types of activities that we can do then to sell to new customers? And these are ideas, right? So to sell to new customers, we want to be, for example, we need to be in front of them. We need to be more visible. So maybe we need to be more visible physically in our community. Some how options? Well, there's networking events. There's being active in community groups. There's developing relationships with local nonprofits. All right, well, then what are those supporting marketing activities that will help us do that? Well, attending networking events weekly, promote nonprofits and create a campaign to help them, volunteer there with the team, have flyers for community campaigns. And then we have timeframes. What's it look like to actually then get results from these things? Because it's not overnight. We'd love for these to have an effect overnight, but if things worked overnight, then everybody would do them, right? So we need to have some competitive advantage here. And if we're the ones that are going to be putting in the work on this stuff and actually coming up with a plan and then executing on that plan, it's going to take some effort, but then it's going to pay off, right? So these are some different ideas. What's in blue here? Those are activities that AMM helps clients with. So you can look at the different ideas for selling to new customers. Obviously, getting customer referrals, getting referrals from other businesses, getting prospect lists, purchasing leads. That's always, it seems like a go-to for how to get more customers. And it seems like maybe people think of it as the only one sometimes, but that's also an area where a lot of agencies have become disenchanted because the costs have just gotten higher and the ROI has gone down many times. But the good thing about that is it can have an immediate effect. That's why it says it can have an effect in up to like 1 month. So profit lever number 2, here's some ideas of selling more to existing customers. This is where we've seen our clients have success with, like, understanding a complete picture of a customer. So document the customer's life, their work, their family, their hobbies. One thing I do want to mention is we're in the examples we're going to be using really personal lines. If I would suggest having a separate marketing plan for the commercial side of your business, just because the numbers are going to be different. The amount of revenue that you get per policy is going to be different. So each new customer might actually mean a lot more to you, and you want those calculations to be accurate. It gets a little funky if you try to put both of those into one single marketing plan. You can add them back together after you maybe come up with a plan. But as far as the calculations go, I'd have two separate sheets here. I'd make a copy, one for the personal, one for commercial. And then if you want them in one place, you can just copy and paste them into one single place later on. All right, and then, so profit lever number 3, this is what I was talking about, is people don't really realize that they can do things to help increase their retention. So we're putting this number here, this number that we calculated. So if it was 92% retention, that $3.2 million, we're putting that right here, highlighting it, $3.2 million. That's what I want to be thinking about when I'm coming up with my plan, even though it's only 69 policies towards meeting my end of the year goal. So some of these things to retain customers longer, providing that value outside of just price. If it's just price, then they can go anywhere. Why not go online and go to a direct and get your policy? So we've got to provide that value, continuously building that relationship, developing trust, proving that you care. And then we have sort of different slots if you wanted to try to brainstorm and come up with some different ideas as well. But it's just kind of nice to have these things in one place, and you can refer back to get ideas for what different campaigns might be. Okay, now let's hop into the plan detail. And don't get overwhelmed, please, by this and numbers. I love this stuff. I'm a numbers and data guy, but it is actually, it's pretty simple. We're going to be going through this in detail, and it is important because you think you're going to see that, hey, some things might work a lot better than others. Maybe it's good to double down on those things that do work and not invest in those things that don't work as well. So this broke our annual policy goal down into each quarter and then by month. All right. And I've got my retention goal still there. So this is blank for you. I want to talk about it right now. It's not going to have an effect on any calculations, but it's a different way to look at things than I think agents typically do. How much are you willing to pay to acquire a new policy? That's a funky question. How I tend to think about it is you're sitting at your desk and you've got a line of people outside your door, and you've got a chunk of money sitting on your desk. They come in and they say that they will buy a policy from you if you give them X dollars out of that stack. Okay, well, what would that be? We know that on average, the current average policy value here in my example might be higher, might be lower for you, is $200 in revenue per year. But remember, even with our existing somewhat poor retention, they're going to be with 7 years. So that means they're worth in total for about $1,400 to me for that policy, about $1,400 for that one policy. So if we paid $1,400 to that person for that policy, eventually over 7 years, we'd get that back on average. Well, that's not a good business move, right? So it's going to be something less than that, but how much less? And however you think about this question, somewhat determines how much you can actually grow per year. Because those that are willing to pay more, they're going to get more policies, obviously, but you've got to have the budget to do it, right? Because it's not an immediate thing. So typically what agents do is they look at it as, well, if I can at least get the money back after a year, then I'm all profit. So for example, if I put $200 in here, that's an ROI of 100%. So if I said, well, you know what, if I'm willing to pay $300 for that one policy, that's an ROI of just 67%. But maybe that's doable. Maybe I can do it. Maybe I have the budget to do it. What if I said, I only want to pay, $60 for that policy? Well, that's a great ROI, but some of those people might not take you up on it, so they might just leave, right? So you've got to look at it both ways. But I think typically what we've seen with agencies is that they're fairly happy with getting that money that they spent on acquiring a new customer back within 1 year. So that 100% ROI, and that makes it a little easier to evaluate our different tactics. So there's some ideas here, and you can change what these are. But let's just go through a couple examples so that you can then actually put in your own tactics and what those metrics are. But I'll show you how this works. So the cells in yellow are things that we can adjust. The ones in green are calculated for us. So let's talk about sending letters through the mail. Maybe we're sending out a letter that has a homeowner's insurance quote. This is what you could be paying on homeowner's insurance. So let's say we're sending out 1,000 of those, and they're costing 55 cents a piece. That was fairly accurate. Last time I looked at it, postage did go up a bit. Let's say it's maybe 60 cents a piece. 1.5% response rate. Yeah, that'd be pretty good. It might be lower. Maybe it's a 1% response rate. And a lot of times you have to hit them multiple times, but we're just going through this one example. A 1% response rate on sending out 1,000 is 10 responses. So what's your typical closing rate? If somebody's responding, if you get somebody on the phone, they replied or picked up the phone and called you, and they requested a quote or wanted to solidify maybe that quote that you already had provided on that letter. What's that closing rate? Might be more than 18%. Let's say it's 25% if you've got good rates. And what I would encourage you is to be really targeted, obviously, in these mailings. Only send them where you know that you're really, really competitive. Really, I think using U.S. mail for leads, it's all about specifically targeting. So this is a projected 2.5 new customers, and that means the policies are 3.8. So the cost of that is $160. So yay, $160 is less than the $200 that I said that I would actually pay for a customer. So my ROI is more than 100%. So if it's more than 100%, that's great. You're golden, right? So if you do find that these are your actual numbers, then boom, maybe I want to update this because right now these projected policies closed. If I wanted to put this in my plan, now see, nothing is up here in my actual plan, right? So what I put down here is what gets populated into my plan up here. So if I think that, yeah, I can do this and these are my actual numbers, I'm going to put 3.8 in there. If let's say there's a setup, some kind of setup cost, maybe, it's 60 cents per unit, but maybe they charge you a one-time, $250 setup fee. So we might need to include that. That's actually going to drive down the ROI a bit. But we can maybe get through that by increasing our quantity, right? Because a setup is just a one-time thing. We are including this per month for the calculation. If it's for example, a total of $250 for the year, I would actually divide this out by 12, just so that we have something to work with. So if it's $250 over the year divided by 12, you can actually do that in here, equals 250 by 12. It ends up being just $21 per month. Let's change this back to 1,000. And so the total cost to include in the plan, the total cost is this. It's this 621. So that would go in the plan. All right. So I am entering the information in these fields up here. And then depending upon what it shows me in green is what I'm going to be then putting in the yellow down here. Other than that setup cost, that is just an additional thing that I would need to add if that was the case. So now I've got some data in here. So it's about 4 policies a month. So this rounded up, 11 per quarter, 46 per year, and it's the ROI is 122%. All right, so 46, that's not getting me too far, is it? Because I need 933. So I either need to, what if I send out 10,000? All right, well, now that's going to be, 37 new policies, 37.5. And the total cost is now 6,021. A lot of agents aren't really wanting to spend $6,000 a month, but if you really truly are getting these kind of numbers here, closing rate, this might be a little high, right? Your cost might be high, but that will get you a lot closer to your goal. You're still not going to hit it. Even doing this, you're still not going to hit it, but that would get you a lot closer to your goal. The good thing is there's a lot of other tactics, right? So you can buy internet leads. Well, closing rate might be not good on those. And so the closing rate, maybe that's 10%. And you really need to spend a lot of money. So here I'd spending $1,000 to get 1.5 policies, which is a 30% retention, which is way lower than our 100% retention or ROI that we're looking at. So maybe don't want to do that. And there's some other tactics in here. Customer referral program. We highly recommend that you put focus on referral programs. Why? Because referrals, of course, are the best type of lead. Their person is already pre-sold to you. They're trusting the person that provided that referral. So that means your closing rate on referrals is going to be a lot higher. We've seen it on average around 60% closing rate. So that can get you a lot more, but you have to have a program in place in order to do that. So, and so maybe you are rewarding people that gave you referrals for everyone that you for every person that you spoke with. Maybe it's $10, maybe it's $20, but it's not only just about rewarding, it is really about making it part of your culture. We have something called the Community Cause Program, where it's also you're donating to a local charity for every cause, and then changing those up, and then creating whole campaigns around it. It's going out in social media, website, emails, monthly magazine that we create for clients. So you've got to promote it, and you've got to make it part of the culture. But you're going to really be able to skyrocket your numbers if you implement some of these things, because the closing rate on them is going to be so high, right? So if you look at, if this is 60, if we get 60 referrals and we close 60% of them, so that's 54 policies. If we included that in the plan, the total cost here is $600. And I mean, there's no setup cost there. The total cost would be $600. That's the one that goes right there. Wow. So we're hitting our goal really just with those two things, right? But we're spending a lot of money here on mail. Might not want to do that. Might want to do it on some things that might cost a little less, and maybe so it's a variation. Getting referrals from business partners, also something we help clients with. Everything in blue here on this page are things that AMM helps clients with. What about SEO? That's a big thing, right? Some people think, well, SEO should just provide all my leads. Well, that's likely not going to happen, and that's a very precarious road that you're on, because Google can change an algorithm, and then you don't have any more leads overnight from your main and only lead source. So I would not count on this as your main lead source ever, because you want other lead sources to be able to bump up and fall back on if something like this fails. And it does take time to improve the ranking. There are some things that will get you an increase in your ranking. You want to be in those top 3 results on the Google search results page. So it's the maps listings. You want to be in those top 3, so they're on page 1, and for a variety of terms, a variety of keywords. So people are searching on auto insurance, home insurance, renter's insurance, obviously, boat insurance, those kind of things. And there's all variations of those as well. So, but that does cost money, and it does take time. So go through this. You can update any of these with other tactics that you're doing. So this is selling more we're down into profit lever 2. Here's things that you can do to sell more to existing customers. You have these luxury prize drawings. We call them customer appreciation drawings. We then have methods to get those people that are entering the drawing, just asking them if, hey, they'd like a quote on this other policy, or if they refer somebody, or maybe if they leave a review. So that is going to cost money for whatever the prize is. We do recommend prizes of $1,000 or more. At AMM, we pay for the prize, but you would want to put that definitely into the cost. And just because we've seen, if something costs $100 or less, not many people are going to take you up on entering the drawing, which means less people will see that offer that you would give to them after they enter their drawing. So free drawings, but then they can take an extra step. Retaining customers longer. Here's some of those things. These things they're going to add cost to you, but we're looking at that big picture. We're looking at this, in my example, $3 million. We're looking at that number, not exactly that, the number of policies that it's going to help me hit over the year. I'm looking at these as something that's going to help me hit the big number. So having that monthly, we call it a monthly magazine or newsletter marketing. Just make it high quality, make it really good, so that people actually do look at it. Don't make it about insurance. build trust in the agency with the brand and differentiation. We haven't even talked about websites. You've got to have a high quality website, or else people are going to think that the low quality website equals the low quality service that your agency provides. So you want to have that face that will impress people and them know that, hey, we're the real deal. We're not some fly by night agencies. We're going to be here for a while, and look at all this other cool stuff that we're doing. So stand out, be different. Connecting with people on social media, right? That doesn't really cost anything. That's just some time of you and your team members reaching out to people. What does maybe cost money is creating the posts that you want to share with your friends and family. And if you're going to share things with your friends and family, you don't want those to be all about insurance, because then they're going to unfriend you, because they don't want to see stuff about insurance all the time. But what if you shared a recipe? They're going to see your agency name at the top of that, and that's going to remind them of what you do for a living, and that's going to make them even subconsciously come to you when they do need one of those things that you sell. So it's building that relationship, and these kind of things do need to be done. There is an investment there, but we're looking at that big number. All right, so we have hit our 45 minutes. I hope you got a lot out of this. I hope you are able to spend some time coming up with your detailed plan for the year, and that you all have an amazing 2025. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and post those. I will stay on here for a bit. You can use the Q&A functionality in Zoom. But otherwise, like I had mentioned before, if you do want to see what it might look like for AMM to do some of these things for you, please schedule a one-on-one meeting with us. We'd love to show you exactly what we do and how much it would cost. I think you'd be really surprised on how little we can do almost all of these things for you, especially those things in blue. And if you look at the activities, these things in blue as well. So have a great rest of your month and 2025. Cheers. I got a question. How much should we budget for the cost of a website? That varies significantly. You can do your own website really inexpensively now. And they advertise AI websites and things like that. That is not recommended, because you end up just looking like everybody else and things end up not working. You don't stand out. The people I've seen pay up to $25,000 for a website. I don't recommend doing that whatsoever. It is more of a branding play. You do want to get people to your website. You do want them to spend time on your website. But you can do it much less expensively. So the design of it and putting it onto a good platform, it varies significantly. But in general, it's $500 for a very simple site, to probably around $5,000 for a little more complex site with a number of pages and some really good design. At AMM, we include that just in the first month fee. We build that all out within the first 30 days for you. There's another question about AI chatbots. Do we recommend those? So we are actually implementing AI chatbots as number one for our own website. That's going to be going up within the next week. But then also we're going to be rolling out those for our clients in 2025. Not to be the be all and end all and sell policies. But if somebody gets to your site and they want some general information about things, it can be there. So we're 24/7, it can answer some questions, and it just does so in a little better way than having an FAQ list. So that FAQ list will end up feeding into the AI chatbot. It's going to be using that for content, but as you know, with dealing or working with Chat GPT, it's just much more conversational, and it does do a good job of scheduling meetings. So if you want to get people to schedule something on a calendar, it's pretty cool where it'll offer up suggestions. Hey, are you available, next Thursday at 2 or 3 o'clock? And then if they say, yeah, 3 o'clock, then it'll actually put something on your calendar for 3 o'clock on that day. So it is great. And we want to take advantage of AI as much as possible. It's just, there's going to be some limitations to what it can do in the for insurance agencies. Well, that is all the questions that we have. Thanks again. Bye.